All right. Welcome, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be jumping into something pretty fascinating. We're going to be taking a look at Taiki-Ken.
Oh yeah, Taiki-Ken.
And to do that, I've got some excerpts here from Kenichi Sawai's book, Taiki-Ken, The Essence of Kung Fu. Have you had a chance to look at this at all?
I have, yeah. It's a really interesting look into this martial art, this fighting method.
It's described as a Chinese hand-to-hand fighting method.
Yes, with very old roots.
Yeah.
It draws on ancient Chinese and Japanese martial arts, and interestingly, it's also got some influences from Buddhist principles that were refined in the Shaolin Temple. So, we're talking about something with a really long history, and it's related to things like Chinese Quan Fa and Japanese Kempo.
So this isn't just some new technique that someone made up in their basement. This has some real weight to it.
No, not at all. This goes way back.
Yeah, so it actually evolved from Zhan Zhuang and gained prominence after World War II.
Yeah, and that was largely through the work of Wang Xiangqi and Kenichi Sawai. Yeah, they studied and adapted these principles in Japan.
So the core idea behind Taiki-Ken, what is it?
Well, in the book, Sawai kind of describes it as advancing on an attacking opponent, but at the same time defending yourself with a powerful attack. So it's not just about blocking. It's about, even when things are really fast, finding that little chink in their armor and attacking it.
I see. So it's that moment of contact.
Yes.
The book also mentions this concept of ki. So when they say ki, what are we talking about here?
Ki is really considered like the heart of Taiki-Ken, and they describe it as this explosive power that manifests instantly throughout your whole body. It's not like physical strength.
Right.
It's almost like this hidden potential energy, and they say that this power should be present from the very beginning of your attack or your defense.
Well, how do you develop that? That's a hard thing to get right.
Yeah, well, they start training with what they call standing Zen disciplines. These are practices like Ritsu Zen, which means standing Zen, and Han Zen, which means half Zen. And it's really interesting because it's all about this internal development.
Hmm.
They believe that these practices, even though they look still and quiet, they actually cultivate this power of ki within you.
So you're just standing and you're building up this power. For someone who's never done this is going to sound pretty weird.
Right. But the thing is, it's not just about standing. It's about developing the sense of your body, of your posture, and how your weight is distributed so that you can move and react instantly and powerfully.
It's almost like finding that root before the branch moves.
Exactly.
Exactly. So before we even dive into the specifics of this standing Zen, I feel like the preface of the book has a lot of really important things to say.
It really does. It talks about how martial arts training has maybe gotten a little too focused on the external, and that the true essence, the true Budo, is being lost. And they really stress the importance of developing your own ki, of having this serious, dedicated attitude towards training. It's not just about going through the motions.
It's not like memorizing a kata or something like that. It's more than that.
Right.
Yeah.
They also talk about the dangers of martial arts, that it's a serious thing and you have to respect that. And there's this interesting part where Sawai mentions his teacher, Wang Xiangqi, and this teacher really focused on developing ki from within through these standing Zen practices. So, this is not just some add-on. This is really fundamental to the whole system.
Okay, that sets the stage for why this seemingly simple thing, like standing, is actually so important. Let's get into that. What's standing Zen, Ritsu Zen? What does that actually look like?
So in Ritsu Zen, you stand with your feet shoulder width apart, toes gripping the ground, knees bent a little bit, not locked, but just slightly bent. You tuck in your lower hip so there's a bit of a tilt to your pelvis. Your back is straight, like there's a thread pulling you up from the top of your head. Your arms are relaxed at your sides, fingers spread, and you look straight ahead. The book says to imagine yourself as a still tree.
Interesting. Now, how is Han Zen different?
Han Zen is really similar to Ritsu Zen, but you hold one fist in front of your abdomen.
I see.
And that subtle change, they say, allows you to apply the ki that you develop.
So it's taking it from just potential energy to something a little more.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
you're starting to make that connection between the internal and the external.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, after these standing practices, the book mentions hai, which is crawling. This is a martial art, and we're talking about crawling.
Yeah, it might seem strange, but it's connected to this Tai Chi philosophy of the three divisions of the cosmos. You've got heaven, which represents the head, earth, which is the feet, and man, which is the torso.
Okay.
So in Taiki-Ken, they apply this to the head, the arms, and the legs. The idea is to unify these different parts of your body.
I see. So how do you crawl in Taiki-Ken?
So you start with your hips low and your arms raised. There are pictures in the book to guide you, of course. Then you shift your weight onto your front foot and take a step forward. The key is to keep your weight and your abdomen level throughout the movement, eyes looking ahead. And they say that there should be about 3 feet between your front hand and your back foot.
3 feet, that's a pretty wide stance for crawling.
It is, and it's not easy to do.
What should you be focusing on during this practice?
They really emphasize keeping a low posture, being aware of how your body is moving. And don't fix your gaze on any one point. Just let your eyes naturally follow the movement.
It sounds like this is all about integrating that power you built up in the standing practice into actual movement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then there's Yurin, which is swaying. It sounds like this is a transition.
Yes, it's a movement you do after a long session of standing Zen. So you're coming out of that deep stillness and you're returning to ordinary movement.
I see. So it's not just jumping straight up from standing still.
No, it's much more gradual. You sway gently with your knees bent and you try to keep that feeling of calm that you had during Zen. No sudden movements.
Okay.
And they actually have a specific sequence of movements for this.
Oh, so there's structure to the swaying.
Yeah. So you slowly lower your arms and go back to the original standing position. Then you take a step forward with your left foot, keeping that rooted feeling. You do a small half step forward, letting your hands move almost without thinking about it. Then you extend both hands forward, and then you repeat that half step with your right foot. And you do these 3 movements over and over again.
It sounds like a way of really consciously reconnecting your body and movement after being still. So now the book goes into what they call basic training exercises. It mentions something called suatulu. What can you tell me about these exercises?
So these exercises are where you start to really apply the principles you've learned so far. They describe one called Basic Movement 2, where you move forward, shifting your weight from right to left in a big circle. And as you do that, your arms swing in a big arc in the opposite direction. Then you step back in the same way, reversing the arm swing. It's all about smooth, coordinated movement and using your weight efficiently.
Okay, and then there's this basic training 3 where it talks about pressing an opponent and they can't get up. What's going on there?
This one starts with your arms crossed, and then you lift your opponent's hand from below, turn to the side, and press down. And they say that when you do this, it disconnects their hips and their core from the movement.
See.
So they lose their power and their balance. It's really interesting. And this exercise is specifically for training that turning movement with your arms while keeping your whole body connected.
And then we've got this basic training 2, which is also called sutulu.
Right. So Tulu is where you cross your arms at the wrists and you push one arm forward like you're pushing someone's chest. And then you twist your hips and pull your other hand towards your chest. This teaches you how to make contact with someone and use your whole body to transfer power. It's about coordinating your arms and hips, both for pushing and for receiving a push.
It's like understanding that push and pull, that give and take.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, the book gets into application examples with names like mukate and sashite. These sound like actual fighting techniques.
They are. It's where they take all that training and show you how to use it in specific situations. Like there's hooking the foot, where you catch someone's foot and lift it to make them fall. But they also say you can press down on their leg if their balance is already off. So it's about adapting to what's happening.
Right. You can't always do the exact same thing.
No.
What are some other examples of these applications?
There's one called forward step and hand raise, where you step forward, raise one hand high, keep the other hand in front of your face, and imagine someone kicking you.
Okay.
You use your raised leg to block and pull their leg at the same time.
So you're disrupting their attack.
Exactly. Then there are examples for dealing with punches, like if someone throws a punch with their left or right fist, which they call a Taiki-Ken. There are ways to block hooks to the face, roundhouse kicks. It's all about real-world fighting situations.
And it's not just blocking, right? It's about blocking and then immediately doing something.
You got it.
It's that simultaneous defense and offense we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, like if someone punches with their left fist, you block it, deal with their right fist if they try to follow up, and then you press against them to knock them off balance. It's all about keeping them on the back foot, not letting them recover.
Always staying one step ahead. What about kicks? How do those examples work?
With kicks, they often show you using a sabre-te, which is like a block with the side of your forearm, to stop the kick while moving into attack.
I see.
So you're flowing from defense to offense.
Right, right.
There's this one where you get under their kick, push their leg up, and knock them off balance. It's really about using their momentum against them.
That's smart. So the book also includes practice with weapons, specifically a bamboo sword and a staff. Now, Taiki-Ken is all about hand-to-hand combat, so why the weapons?
Well, even with weapons, the training focuses on the same core principles. You need to be flexible, balanced, and don't let the weapon itself intimidate you. The book says not to be disturbed by the kai of the sword.
Interesting.
Focus on your blocks, on moving your hips. And they stress doing this in a light and easy way. Don't get tense and stiff. It's about extending those basic principles into a different context.
Can you give me an example of how that works with the bamboo sword?
Sure. So there's this example where you lead an opponent with the sword towards you. You actually take a step towards them. Then when they attack, you step back, protecting yourself with your arm. But they're very specific that you shouldn't pull your hips back too far because then you lose your balance. And even while defending, you're thinking about moving forward.
Interesting. So it's not just a passive defense. You're always looking for that opportunity to attack.
Absolutely. And another example shows you how to deflect a thrust with your hand, redirecting the sword and putting yourself in a position to counterattack. It's that same idea of defense and offense happening together.
Right. And what about the staff? What are the key points there?
They emphasize blocking close to your body, not getting distracted by the tip of the staff, and acting boldly. Like, there's this one where the staff is coming straight for your face and you turn your body and block with your arm.
Right.
But they say to block it close in when it's almost touching you so you have less time to react. And then you immediately move into your opponent's space to attack. It's about that split-second timing and not wasting any movement.
It sounds like training with weapons is more about refining those core principles of Taiki-Ken, like timing, distance, and simultaneous defense and offense, rather than learning specific weapon techniques.
That's a great way to put it. It's about applying those principles in a different context against an external tool.
Right. Now, finally, the book mentions Tanshu, the solo form. Now, this is interesting because Taiki-Ken is all about interacting with an opponent. But here you're practicing alone. Why is that important?
Well, they explain that Tanshu is a way to see how deeply you've understood Taiki-Ken. It's about finding the movements that work best for your body and your personality. It emphasizes big, expressive movements, but also these small, subtle details. It's like a personal journey within the art.
So you're really making the art your own.
Yeah, you're internalizing it.
What should someone focus on when practicing Tanshu?
They say your movements should go from calm and still to dynamic and powerful, flowing smoothly between them. You also have to imagine an opponent even though you're alone. It's about keeping that mental focus. And the movements are sometimes big and expansive, and sometimes they're these small, focused strikes. It's like a hunter stalking prey. They have some specific points too, like making sure your second hand is ready to strike or support when you attack, taking natural steps when moving, and making sure every strike has power behind it. And one of the key things is, if your opponent keeps coming after your first attack, you need to be ready with your second hand or both hands. That moment, they say, can decide if you win or lose. They also say not to get fancy with your footwork. Keep it simple and efficient.
Keep it practical.
Exactly. And even when you move back, your intention should always be to go forward. And don't get stuck in one position. It's all about constant change and adaptation.
So Tanshu is really about understanding and expressing Taiki-Ken on a really deep level. We've covered a lot of ground today. What are the main things you'd want our listener to take away from this?
I think the biggest takeaways are that Taiki-Ken is more than just a set of techniques. It's a way of thinking, a way of moving, a way of being. It's about cultivating this inner power, this ki, and using it to defend and attack simultaneously.
Yeah, it's really about that seamless blend of offense and defense. It's not about waiting to react. It's about always moving forward, always looking for the opening.
Exactly. It's about being rooted in stillness, but ready to explode into action at any moment.
So as you go about your day, think about how these principles, this idea of cultivating inner strength and being able to adapt, how could those apply to other parts of your life?
Right. Maybe not in a literal fighting sense, but in how you deal with challenges, how you approach your goals.
Food for thought.
Indeed.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.